You're watching Building the Franchise with the Jacksonville Jaguars, only on MBL Network.
Welcome back to Building the Franchise. In this episode, we're going to go over the last 4 weeks of the regular season against the New York Giants, the Tennessee Titans, the Philadelphia Eagles, and the Houston Texans, as well as touch on some different things going into this end of season 27 offseason, including the rumors swirling around Jacksonville that head coach Doug Marrone is on the hot seat and may be out after this season, but stay tuned for that. We'll touch on that toward the end of this episode. But these first couple highlights are going to come from the game against the New York Giants. We were coming off the win against the Broncos. There wasn't many bright points on this game. We're just going to focus on 2 plays here. The first one is the one attempt by Corey Grant where he got a touchdown, 69 yards with a nice little spin move. And the other play is going to be an interception here by Davis Webb. He throws the ball up into some coverage. The ball gets batted around, and Paul Posluszny comes down with it for an interception in this game. But there's nothing else to talk about in that 27-point loss to the playoff New York Giants. But we're moving on. We're going against the Tennessee Titans here in Week 15. And Marcus Mariota, he wasn't looking for anything underneath, or they weren't calling plays that allowed him to have quick routes. Everything was kind of downfield, and that allowed us to get a couple sacks. And also an interception by TJ McDonald, who's proven to be a pretty good pickup last offseason. We did end up losing to the Tennessee Titans, but that's really nothing new so far in this cycle. However, Week 16 we took on the Philadelphia Eagles with Deca, their owner, and this team is not very good. They came in, they're having a worse season than we've had so far. They're having a worse season almost than what we had last year. And our running game really wasn't getting any kind of traction, so a lot of this game came down to Daniel Shirley and his ability to get outside the pocket with the pass rush and find some receivers downfield. Shirley ended this game 15 of 18 for 291 yards and 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. One of the best games so far that Shirley's had as a Jacksonville Jaguars in the MBL. It does, however, make the game extremely slowed down and a lot easier for your rookie quarterback when your defense gets 5 interceptions on Nick Foles here in this game. Jalen Ramsey and TJ McDonald both had 2 interceptions, and AJ Boye had an interception as well. So with less than 50% completion allowed and 5 interceptions, the defense stepped up, Daniel Shirley stepped up. Now we just need Leonard Fournette to step up, especially in Season 28, as we cruise to a 30-0 victory against the Philadelphia Eagles here in Week 16. Moving on to the final week of the season, we take on the Houston Texans, another division rival, another division game, and the last one of the season. And this game against the Houston Texans, it was ugly for both teams. The final score in this game was 12-3. The Texans won. However, Blake Bortles, who is the starting quarterback in Houston, did not throw any touchdowns. The defense kept him out of the end zone. And that score of 12-3 came from absolutely no offensive touchdowns, no defensive touchdowns. The entire game was nothing but field goals. So like I said, an extremely ugly game on both sides of the ball, and that's part of the reason why there's rumors going around Jacksonville that head coach Doug Marrone, who has now finished the last 2 seasons at 3-13, is on the hot seat and is on the way out in Jacksonville. However, Doug Marrone will not be fired at the end of this season. He will stay around for at least 1 more year. There's been talks between ownership and the coaching staff, and the belief is that it's not over. The team has shown progress. Daniel Shirley has shown progress. Much more progress than the previous quarterbacks when Doug Marrone took over. So there's been some progress made. If there was a running game, the team would be able to compete a little better in the AFC South. And like I said, that's going to be a big focus moving on into season number 28. But Doug Marrone will not be fired at the end of this season. Just setting the record straight for the Jacksonville fans right now. He will stay around for at least 1 more season, as that is when his contract ends. At the time of contract negotiations, that could be a different story. But right now, there's no sense in shaking up the locker room going into next season when the team has shown some positive things throughout this year that they did not show last year. So with the season ending at 3-13 and the 4th place in the AFC South again belonging to the Jacksonville Jaguars, we now look at some of the cuts from the offseason before free agency begins, and the first one is going to be wide receiver Colby Listenby, who played nothing but a depth and special team role in Jacksonville. It's time to let him move on, as well as quarterback Brandon Allen, who is now 3rd string behind Jacoby Brissett and Daniel Shirley. Halfback TJ Yeldon, who really didn't see the field behind Leonard Fournette and Corey Grant. We decided to keep Grant long term, and it's paid off. So TJ Yeldon, it's time for you to move on into free agency, as well as halfback Taquan Mizell, who again doesn't see the field. Now this one was a money move. This was strictly because of money. Jones was making too much money without the production that he needed, kind of like Dante Fowler, who we'll get to in a second. But with only 9 tackles on the season and none for a loss, it really wasn't worth keeping Jones here for the money that he was making. Now this one right here, this one's going to sting a little bit for some Jacksonville Jaguars fans. Due to cap reasons and his production compared to the rookie that we drafted last season, Paul Posluszny was released as well. 81 overall. He's still got some pretty decent stats for his age at 34 years old. We were kind of hoping that he would retire, but he decided, no, I'm going to stick around. I'm not going to retire. And it was a little bit of an awkward situation between Posluszny and the owner and coaching staff here. They all sat down and asked him what he wanted to do at 34 years old. Are you wanting to play another year? How many more years do you have in the tank? And he said, I'm still sticking around. I'm not going anywhere. I'm playing for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And it was almost like, but you're not. Here's your release papers. So, you know, Posluszny was let go, and it kind of rocked the locker room a little bit because he was a leader on the defensive side of the ball. But being a good sport about it, he did joke that, you know, I'll see you guys on the other side, talking about he'll get on a team that makes sure that they play against the Jaguars so he can show the owners why, or the coaches why they shouldn't have let him go. So while it was a little awkward as he packed his locker up and he got all his stuff ready and he told his family and everything, obviously that's a hard time for any player in the MBL, but the Jaguars do want to thank Posluszny for his production while he was in Jacksonville and wish him all the best in his future endeavors. And the only other two notable releases by the team was free safety Barry Church as well as tight end Gary Barnidge as we head into this offseason period here and begin free agency. And speaking of free agency round 1 is officially underway now. And Eric Ebron, if you know Eric Ebron from the Building the Franchise Detroit Lions episodes, he is a free agent. And he has been flown out to Jacksonville since the free agency has officially begun, and he has expressed his desire to play in Jacksonville, get out of the cold of Detroit, and get down to the Jacksonville area. So there'll be a little bit more to that as we go along here as the free agency progresses. Stay tuned to the Jacksonville Jaguars Twitter, which is on the screen that you see right now. Make sure you're following that if you're not, and make sure you pay attention to what signings we make and what happens throughout this free agency and offseason. A couple other guys that we're looking at so far as free agency has begun. Cornerback Senquez Golden, we're looking to bring him in the slot. And middle linebacker Jake Ryan, who's going to come in kind of as that backup role behind the now second-year middle linebacker Ellis Barber, who we kept over Paul Posluszny. And also strong safety J.J. Wilcox. Now, looking toward this free agency, like I said, make sure you're paying attention to our Twitter. Unfortunately, there's not going to be able to be exactly what I want it to be just yet. It is over this Thanksgiving holiday for our offseason here in the MBL, so it's going to be a little hard for me to do the way I would like to do it. Moving forward, hopefully during the offseason, though, we're going to be able to have one episode per day during the free agency period, so you guys can get some more input onto that. But like I said, with it being around this holiday period, this Thanksgiving period here in the U.S., it's a little hard to get those episodes out when you've got family around and you're eating dinner and watching football and all that fun stuff. So there won't be the once in advance episode this off season. Hopefully next off season it won't fall during a weird time period like that, and we'll be able to do that so you guys can get a little bit more input and get a little bit more involved into it. But make sure you guys are leaving some comments down below. A couple questions I do have, though. I want to know, what are your guys' thoughts on bringing Eric Ebron in? You've seen Eric Ebron. You've seen him in Detroit. You've seen what his supposed brick hands problem that Bomber claims he has. So what are your thoughts? What do you think about us bringing Eric Ebron in a team that has no starting young? We have a young tight end, but he's Duron France. He's not that great. He was kind of just a pickup as the choice we had in the second round last year. So leave some comments down below. Hashtag great choice or hashtag what are you doing? Let me know what you're thinking on Eric Ebron. And the other question I'll pose to you for the comments down there is just let me know what you're thinking is going to happen with season 28. Are we going to continue to be the bottom of the barrel, or are we going to continue to use this bomber logic that we tried to use there toward the middle of this season 27? And are we going to build on the positives and forget the negatives and move forward and become a better team and take the AFC South? Now, let it be known, I have made it extremely clear to the owner of the Indianapolis Colts that the Indianapolis Colts will not beat the Jacksonville Jaguars a single time out of the 2 games we play this upcoming season. And if you remember from one of our previous episodes, we're the champions. We're the champions above the Indianapolis Colts. And so they're not going to beat us anymore. We're done. We're done letting them win. We have actually taken the lead on J.J. Wilcox from them. So there's a couple different little fun factors there. Let me know in the comments down below what you think about Ebron. Let me know what you think is going to happen with season number 28, and tune in next week for the next episode of Building the Franchise.